The Treasury introduces us not only to a wide array of jewellery, but also to history in general. Many of the items are of course lined with jewels and made from gold, but some of the items have also played important roles for royals and sometimes even in Danish history. Objects such as this one is much more descriptive of its age than so many words, and was used as one of the little gadgets of the royals. This somewhat Gothic accessory made up of coral skulls was used as a vanity symbol, reminding humans of their mortal limits in line with the Latin saying memento mori, that translates into remember death. And the somewhat morbid connection isn't completely lost in connection to its use. It was used as a pomander, containing 6 little rooms for various scents and perfumes. This was, in other words, used for repressing the many foul smells of the day, common in churches for instance, where it was customary to bury nobles in catacombs directly under the church floor, leaving of course a rather putrefied stench. Another object with a somewhat larger historical notoriety is the Order of the Elephant, the most prestigious order in Denmark and one of the finest and oldest orders in the world. The elephant thus represents Christian virtues, and the fort along with the little black warrior on its back is possibly a link to Denmark as a colonial nation, or they could be interpreted as the symbol of Denmark as the defender of the one true faith. It isn't the only order down here. The English Order of the Garter, the oldest of its kind, was given to Christian IV by his brother-in-law King James I of England. Normally your family would have to return such orders after death, but given the political unrest in England at the time, it was kept in Denmark and remains here to this day. Going down into the next section, the first thing we see is Christian IV's crown in all its glory. He could have chosen 2 other crowns, but instead opted to have this one made from scratch in an intentionally old-fashioned style. A style that was similar to the crowns worn by the kings of the Kalmar Union, a medieval union formed in a time when Denmark controlled most of Scandinavia. It is considered one of the finer specimens of Renaissance crowns and weighs around 3 kilos or roughly 1.5 pounds. When later in life the king needed money, he decided to pawn the crown at a banker in Hamburg, but died before he could get it back, which meant that his now indebted son, Frederick III, had to send an envoy who had to pay for the crown himself before he could get a hold of the crown for his coronation. This was of course a really embarrassing event for Frederick III. Opposite the crown we find the royal statutes, the legal papers and basis of Frederick III's absolute monarchy. The only other document of its kind during the absolutist period belonged to the Russian Tsar. This document was perhaps a necessary instrument securing Frederick III's theoretical power against an influential nobility, opposed to other princes of the time who took a more practical approach to power by simply claiming it, with no need for paperwork. Just below the royal statutes we find these silver boxes, originally containing something rather peculiar. They did in fact contain umbilical cords belonging to Frederick III's children, and it was believed that these would serve as an extra bit of luck in life. Reinforced by notions of innocence and purity of youth, they were crushed and used for crafting potions and medicine. The larger box with Frederick III's insignia contained his own intact fetal membrane or caul, which of course was considered extra special. At the center of the next section you see the first of the regalia, the crown of Christian V, a typical specimen of an absolutist crown, easily recognizable by its semi-closed top. Looking at the centermost showcase opposite the crown, you see the remaining regalia, which when put together was supposed to symbolize the power of the king. The crown thus symbolized that the king was chosen to rule by God himself, the orb that he was to rule over the earthly realm but with God firmly above him, shown through the crucifix. The scepter imitates a commander's staff, and finally the sword containing all the various coat of arms linking the ruler with his armed forces. In this same showcase you can also find the second Danish order, the Order of the Danish Flag. After 1808 it became possible for even commoners to receive the order, and today it is given to a wide array of people ranging from sport athletes to musicians. Notice also the very large amethyst at the top, a jewel that was placed in the top of the coronation chair during coronations, but at all other occasions was replaced with an identical one of quartz, which is still the case to this day. In the adjoining showcases you finally see the crown jewels, belonging not to a particular queen but to the title Queen of Denmark, making these somewhat publicly owned. They contain everything from diamonds and pearls to emeralds, and are meant to be worn by the Queen at special events, like for instance the New Year banquet. Queen Alexandrine, who lived from 1879 to 1952 and was married to Christian X, started many traditions, for instance the one where the royal family visits various ports of Denmark by boat to get to know their subjects. But she also implemented the custom of only wearing the crown jewels inside the Danish borders. The crown jewels were combined into their current shapes in 1840 for Queen Caroline Amalia's coronation. Originally though, it was Queen Sophia Magdalene, married to Christian VI, who in her testament of 1746 designated her jewelry to the title Queen of Denmark, because she considered the family heirlooms to be lacking not only jewelry, but crown jewelry. She was given both emeralds and diamonds now used in the respective crown jewel sets. The pearl set originally belonged to Christian V's queen Charlotte Amalie, and even the queen of Christian VII contributed with some of her jewels.